going to be like spending my life married to a pilot? This is a common question that many ask when they first begin dating or marry a pilot or into the aviation lifestyle. I hear this frequently from my pilot wife coaching clients, and I see questions like this pop up all the time in groups online. I'm Jackie Ulmer, and this is the Pilot Wife Podcast and Aviation Adventures Show. How do you deal with the loneliness, the anxiety, the holidays and special occasions spent alone, maybe even childbirth and other things when you're married to an airline pilot? So today, after being asked that question over and over again and seeing it asked, I'm going to share my thoughts and my experiences as a letter that I would write to my younger pilot wife self. Now, keep in mind, I'm the wife of a commercial airline pilot. And so I'm writing this letter from those experiences, what I've lived, and from that perspective. And I'm going to guess that even if you're not part of the commercial aviation world, that you're going to find yourself in some of these situations, these stories, these thoughts, feelings, and emotions, even if you're charter, corporate, military, or some other part of pilot wife life. Here's the thing. Here's how I'm going to start this letter. You're going to have a great life. It's going to have its ups and downs, pun intended, but what life doesn't? It's all in how you look at it and how you deal with it. We can focus on just the bad, or we can find the silver lining. When you feel stressed, angry, or disappointed over any situation, I want you to just stop and ask yourself, why is this happening? Where is this feeling coming from? What is it specifically that's triggering me? Is it truly what's going on right now, or can I quickly flash back to another memory from the past and have it be something that I'm now re-engaging with? So an important thing to always ask is this real and happening? Or is my mind creating a lot of drama around things? As humans, we have a tendency to consistently recreate past experiences, putting them into the now and taking what's going on in the now and somehow correlating it to a past experience. And we can often project that into the future. How often do you find yourself starting to be filled with worry and anxiety, and they're not even leaving on a trip till the next day, but already your body, your mind, your thoughts are conjuring up what's going to happen. We do this subconsciously, and it's a very human experience. You are normal. Now, for me, once I got a grip on this and I mastered it, and I still work every day to master it, it's not like it's gone forever. But once I really began to understand it and develop some tools that I could work with myself, my life completely changed and I became much happier in every aspect of my life. Here are some things that might happen to you in your aviation life. You're going to feel lonely. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel jealous at times for a number of different things. Jealous that they aren't dealing with the kids on a snow day, that they can order room service if they want, sleep in. That's a joke that's always been in my life, in my household of, I think that you think that when I'm on a trip, all I do is order room service. I might have been guilty of thinking that and, lounging in bed. And the reality of it is it's very far from that most of the time. So you're going to have some jealousy around lifestyle, other members of the opposite sex in the cockpit with them, in the cabin, on overnights, all of those things that our mind can go crazy with. And now, today, you're going to have to deal with social media. Now, can I just pause and say, I didn't have to deal with that in the early years, and I'm so grateful. But just remember this: social media is not real life. It's a snapshot that's often photoshopped and made to look much better than it truly is. It only tells a small piece of any story, and we never know the story behind the story, and there always is one. So remind yourself not to constantly assume anything when you see something. Don't assume that that person's life, who looks so much better than yours, really is. that looks so much easier than yours really is so much less complicated? Because it's not. Life is messy for everyone. It's the human experience. So when you see someone who is happy, just know that their life, like yours, is 50-50. It's a constant balancing act. Bad things happen to everybody. People get sick, people leave, relationships end, people die, jobs are lost, moves happen, and all of the things that incorporate life. It happens for everyone. But as you well know, most of us put our A roll out on social media instead of our B roll, and certainly not our C roll or D roll, and keep on going. You're going to have to deal with disappointment when they fly during a big event, holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, explaining to your sister why he won't be there at the wedding, funerals, all that. And again, I mentioned childbirth. Fortunately, my husband was home for the birth of both of my children. So, knock on wood, grateful for that. But I know that's not the case for everyone. I actually suffered a miscarriage early in our marriage, and he wasn't home for that. But I was so grateful that there was another pilot wife who was. And that's who I called. And that's who went to the hospital with me and held my hand. And looking back now, I got through that just fine. It wasn't his fault. I didn't blame him. It's just the way it was. I learned to ask myself, is it going to really matter tomorrow or next week? Most often, 1 week after anything, it just doesn't matter anymore. Any missed event, any missed holiday, again, it's all what we make of it. The most important thing that you can do to save yourself and save your marriage and save any relationship is to learn good communication skills. I mentioned social media can be such an advantage to you to sit down and have some discussions around that. Have good communications, set those boundaries. Be willing to declare what your expectations are of overnights, pictures posted on social media, fraternizing with the rest of the crew, etc. What they do on overnights. I'm not here to advise you on that, judge you on that, or tell you how things should be done. That's a personal decision and a personal conversation that has to happen between you and your partner. But I know that developing those good communication skills, setting those boundaries, being able to speak our truth can be especially difficult as women because we're conditioned to be people pleasers. It's what we do. And we're conditioned to put everybody else first. That doesn't mean that's anyone's fault. It doesn't even mean that your pilot, your spouse, partner, kids, it doesn't even necessarily mean that anybody else is asking or expecting you to do that. We just learn to condition ourselves to automatically default to that. And I mentioned boundaries. We often have no clue how to really speak boundaries, set boundaries, agree to boundaries, and work together on that. We often have no idea how to truly speak up for ourselves, speak our truth, and most specifically, speak about what it is that we need, what we require for happiness, contentment, joy, a happy marriage, a happy partnership. Here's what I know. He loves you. He chose you. He doesn't want to be gone as much as he is either. He feels lonely too. He feels anxious too. He wonders what you're doing, just like you wonder what he's doing. I mean, imagine that, right? He worries that you're going to get frustrated with his absences, with his job, with this lifestyle that the two of you have entered into together, that you're going to look around for someone else or something better. He's going to spend his time showing people pictures of you, showing people pictures of the kids, the family, talking about you, what you do, how much he loves you, how much he cares for you, how great your life is together. He's going to talk about how great his family and time is. And I know this because, as I've shared before, I was in aviation before I met and married my pilot. I spent time around pilots who loved showing me pictures of their kids and their wives and talking about them. And it was very clear to me how much they missed them. They would talk about the baseball game that they were missing, or the play that they were missing, or your promotion at work, or whatever it is, your anniversary. They would talk about that. And I would see the guilt, the worry, the frustration, the sadness in their eyes. I definitely would see that. So, what you want to do is give him every reason to want to talk about you, to want to talk about the family, and to continue to do that. And we do that by working to always show up as our best self. That doesn't mean fake it. That doesn't mean not to allow your feelings, your frustrations, your anger, and your boundaries to show up. But that means to decide who you are, what matters to you, the value that you place on your relationship, and how you want to always leave a positive impact in every situation. It means taking the time to think before you speak, think before you act, and always weigh in on what it is that's creating the thoughts and the feelings around your circumstance at that particular moment. It's super easy to react and overreact in the heat of the moment with any situation. We've all done it, and most of us have lived to regret that as time passes. So, if we can, again, take control of our own thoughts and begin to manage those, we can anticipate rough patches, take a pause before we react and blow up, right? Um, and really then show up as the best version of ourselves that we want to be. Now, in many cases, the reality is he chose a profession that was a lifelong dream. I know that's the case for my husband. From the time he was 8 years old, he wanted to be a pilot. It drives my kids crazy because they're always like, gee, it's great that dad knew exactly what he wanted to do at 8 years old. And they didn't have that. And I didn't either. But as a small child, he might have watched airplanes glide through the sky, and he might have fantasized about being the pilot in those airplanes. And certainly at that time when that dream was formulated, he didn't understand all of the baggage that goes along with the profession, right? Most of us don't. Long stretches of time away from home, away from you, away from his family, away from the people he loves, deviations and delays, weather and mechanicals, crabby passengers, flight attendants, or pilots, or people in general, pandemics, crappy food, crappy hotels, and hotel rooms that aren't ready when you arrive, especially after a cross country all night flight, right? Those things happen. Hotel maintenance when they come in and during the day when they assume everybody else is up, they're affecting sleep because they're loud and noisy and banging around and fixing this and fixing that while the pilot is trying to sleep during the day because they're doing all-nighters. Bed bugs, yikes, right? It's a career that can have a lot of baggage with it. There's furloughs, domicile and base closures, reassignments, aircraft that are taken out of service, retired, and forced equipment changes, economic woes, pay cuts, the lost decade, as many of us from the old days like to call it. That was post 9/11. It's called the lost decade because there were furloughs, there was no new hires, no movement. It was very, very stagnant. I also know that he spends a lot of his trips and time away feeling stressed and anxious too. I mentioned that. He's learned to compartmentalize, and it's critical to the success he has as a pilot to be able to compartmentalize. But it can be frustrating when you're on the receiving end of that and you don't fully understand it when it's happening in the moment. But I can assure you this, it's not personal. It's not about you. He has a job to do. And again, good communication skills go a long way for both of you to know how to express what's going on when it's happening and when things must be put on the back burner in the immediate situation that he might be dealing with because he's at work. That's what makes him a great pilot. That's what makes you proud of him. It's always going to seem like there's something better out there. A prettier girl, a thinner girl, a girl with a more perfect body, a girl who's more fun, a girl that's smarter, whatever it is, a girl that's fill in the blank. We all have it. It's that comparanoia. It's that tendency that we have to measure ourselves up against everyone else. It's human nature to feel like we're not enough, to feel unworthy, to feel that comparanoia. And all of these are just thoughts. None of them are true, right? Ask yourself really and truly, are you unworthy? Are you not good enough? Ask yourself those questions. Don't bog yourself down on asking if you're the thinnest girl or the one with the most perfect body or the prettiest or any of that, because that is a recipe for disaster. That will drive you crazy every single time you do it. Okay. Remind yourself of all those times in your life when you have been good enough, when you have been chosen, when you have been worthy. We all have those times that we can look back on in our lives, those times that were total wins, where we took first place or even second place. We got 100% on the test. We got into that difficult class. Remind yourself of those positive things in your life on those times when you start feeling stressed and unworthy. Start every day with gratitude for the opportunity that you have in this life that you've been given. The aviation life can no doubt be challenging, but it can also be absolutely stunning. It can also be challenging to be married to an attorney. I know this because I have many friends whose spouses Sunday afternoons were spent away from the family working on briefings for the next week and what was going on and all of that. And I'll take my life any day over theirs. Remind yourself that with very few exceptions, your pilot doesn't bring their job home with them. They park the plane, they set the brakes, and they get out and they come home to you. This allows them to be fully present when they are at home. That doesn't mean that they always will be, but again, going back to those good communication skills, you can create the best, most positive scenarios most often. Part of showing up as your best self is always asking yourself, how can I make him feel great? How can I make him feel worthy? Happy to be married to me and happy to come home to me and the kids and the family, if that's, or the fur babies, whatever it is. When we show up as our best selves for someone else, we're also showing up as our best self for ourselves, assuming that we aren't people pleasing, assuming that we aren't always putting someone else's needs ahead of our own. That's not at all what I mean by showing up as your best self. I promise you, when you're the one willing to take that first step and lead the way on showing up as your best self and working to make his life great, it's most often reciprocated. It's just human nature. It's human nature to want to reciprocate what we're experiencing. Now, here's some things that might happen. That tree is going to fall on your house and knock out the power on the very first night that you're alone as a pilot wife during a raging thunderstorm. How do I know this? Because yes, it happened to me. You'll figure out what to do. This was long before cell phones, texting, or any of that. The garage door might fall off its tracks while he's on a trip, trapping you at home. How do I know this? Because yes, it happened to me. You'll figure it out. The garbage disposal is going to back up. The plumbing's going to go AWOL. The air conditioner's going to go out. The washer might overflow. The kids will get sick. The dog may need to be euthanized while he's on a trip. There might be snow days, hurricanes, all kinds of things. And you're going to find out how strong you truly are, how competent you truly are, how brilliant your mind is, how capable you are, and just how worthy you are. And he's going to appreciate all of that. Even if he doesn't tell you right away, he's going to appreciate knowing that he can leave and everything's going to be in good hands. So just embrace it. Know that the universe is giving you many, many gifts. It's giving you the gift of aviation, travel, the whole world at your fingertips, especially if you're in the commercial airline part of aviation. I want to encourage you to learn to always see the positive in every situation. Remember this, we only grow during times of struggle. No growth occurs when everything is happy and seems perfect, going along as we planned. It's only in those frustrating times, those dark times, what seems like, the world being full of dark moments, that our best opportunity to come up and shine happens. Work to build a community, not just of others in aviation and other pilot wives, but good friends. Friends who truly have your back, who don't mind that you show up solo a lot of the time. They don't ask you a ton of questions, they just understand. They don't mind when you ask if you can bring a plus one instead of your pilot because he's flying. But they think of you also when the holidays hit and they invite you, even if they know that you're busy. They just want to care for you and make sure that you're well tended to and that you don't spend holidays and special occasions alone. Enjoy this one amazing life that you've been given. Learn to see the silver lining in any situation and to laugh at the BS that you're often going to wade through. When times seem tough, I want you to look yourself in the mirror and remind yourself how awesome you are, how smart, how brilliant, beautiful, how badass, and more. High five yourself in the mirror each morning and then pass that on to others. High five other people. Give words of encouragement to others, maybe another pilot wife who's struggling. Let them know how capable they are. Spend less time looking back, except those times when we're looking at all of the great things that we've experienced. Only look back to appreciate what you've gone through, how you've grown, and spend less time also looking forward, except to anticipate more great things happening. I want to encourage you to spend as much time as possible in the right here, right now, the present, which is all we really have. And when you feel alone and anxious, send him a text and let him know that you're thinking of him. Fill his day with brightness and put a smile on his face, because it can't help but put a smile on your face too. Give him that opportunity that when he lands in some cold, distant city and turns on his phone, let your bright, shining, beautiful face greet him and remind him that he's loved and appreciated and that you miss him. I promise you, this is going to come back around. What goes around comes around, the good and the bad. And so, dear younger pilot wife self, it's going to be a beautiful ride, a beautiful life, a beautiful journey. There's going to be some turbulence and rain clouds, and there's going to be some sunshine up above those clouds. There's going to be mostly sunshine. Those moments when you look out and you feel like you're walking on heaven's carpet. Embrace it, enjoy it, and savor it, because I can assure you that over 3 decades later, it has been amazing. I'm Jackie Ulmer, your co-pilot on the Pilot Wife podcast. Do you ever find yourself on the struggle bus with relationships, career, or life in general? I'm a mindset and peak performance coach, helping women rediscover their own sense of identity and purpose, avoid turbulence, and put their own oxygen mask on first. Together, we work to get you out of autopilot and create a better flight plan for life and relationship success. As a pilot wife for over 30 years, I've navigated thousands of miles and moments in aviation, mommyhood, business, and life in general. I would love to offer you a free call to see if I might be able to help you too. You can go to coach.pilotwifepodcast.com. And if you have a topic suggestion or a story to share on the show, go to ask.pilotwifepodcast.com. And of course, you'll find all of this at resources.pilotwifepodcast.com. Please take a moment to review and rate the show on whatever your favorite podcast app is. This helps the show get found by others who need what we have here. And you might win some fun swag for your troubles. I'll see you on the journey, and thanks for listening.